Hi, welcome to another episode of the Soul Minded Business Podcast. This is your host, J.D. Ross. This is my son, Lawson Ross. Our guest on this episode of the Ried family from Fort Mill, South Carolina. They have a son named Braxton who suffers from Dravet Syndrome, which is a seizure disorder. So listen in as they describe their life and also look how they live it to their fullest. We know you're going to enjoy this podcast. Watch and listen. Yeah, so on Dravet Syndrome. Now, you run that foundation, Misty. What do you do with it? Are you organized it, or what's your role in it?
No, actually, so there were 4 founding members, and they are all parents of Dravet children, and they just wanted to get research done. So they started this group, and about 4 years ago, I was asked by the executive director if I would take over as a campaign director for the U.S. So basically in charge of all fundraising that goes to the foundation.
Okay, do you mind telling us what it is Dravet syndrome is? Can you tell us?
Okay. So Dravet syndrome is a chromosome disorder. It's a very severe type of epilepsy. It's very, there are a lot of unknowns. For example, Ben and I both tested negative. Allie tested negative. So Braxton is the only one that has this chromosome disorder. There's no cure. He's on multiple medications to try and prevent the seizures from occurring. And the crazy thing is there's no specific like cocktail that works for these kids of drugs. All the kids are different. It's a spectrum disorder. And the way I like to describe that to people that are unfamiliar with spectrum disorders is if you have 100 kids and you throw them all in a swimming pool, you don't know who's going to end up in the deep end, who will end up in the shallow end. And I think Braxton is actually very high functioning for a Dravet child. Another weird component to the syndrome is you could look at him, talk to him, and not realize all of the struggles that he lives with day to day.
Yeah, he's sorry, Misty, if you see us grinning at you, it's not because what you're talking about, it's because of Braxton. He keeps making faces.
Watching himself on camera.
So Braxton, the leadership thing you did at Taekwondo, we did that, like just stepping up and leading. When you decided to do that, man, you just kind of busted that out on us one day. And I was like, man, where's this guy coming from? Did you like it?
Did you like leading at Taekwondo when you told? Stop doing that answer. Did you like it when you were the leader at Taekwondo? Yes.
Said yes. Allie, how about you? When you were in there, I was thinking about you this morning. You're not like this at least at this time, not to step out in front of everybody, lead like Braxton. Like Braxton's like the center of attention. She's a quiet lead from the group type, right? Yeah, it's her sister. Yes. Yeah. So do you guys still do the Burn for Braxton? I mean, I know not now, but
No, we actually we started our fundraising. How many years ago? Braxton was probably. Braxton was probably 2 years old when we started fundraising, and I held fundraisers once a year. We started out with doing like we started out doing a walk just to raise awareness and raise funds for the foundation. And we did that for a couple of years, and then we ended up moving into Baxter, and the Baxter Women in Business group came to me and wanted to kind of help us raise funds. So we ended up doing I think we did a 5K run in the neighborhood and raised a lot of money as well. Then after that, we ended up doing a golf tournament, I believe, or the golf tournament might have been before. Maybe we did 2 years. It's all Oh yeah, that's right. We did do our own, I think, before the 5K. And then we did the 5K here in Baxter. And then after that, we ended up doing Burn for Brax. And we did that a few years, which was like a workout fundraiser. And then in the past couple of years, we've just kind of gone, Baxter Women in Business has also done their own golf tournament, and they split the funds between Dravet Syndrome Foundation and another nonprofit. So the last few years, they've kind of held that for us. It's taken a lot of work off of me and my family, which has been great. So that's kind of how our fundraising has gone. And I think within like 4 or 5 years of fundraising, we had raised over $100,000 for the Dravet Syndrome Foundation. So we had very successful events, and we spread a lot of awareness.
Now, you guys have a website if somebody wants to give, because this is going to be in the show notes. So what's the best way to get in touch with you if somebody wants to give?
Well, there's 2 ways. So they could either email me at misty@dravetfoundation.org, or they could go straight to the foundation website, which is dravetfoundation.org. And that's DRAVET, dravetfoundation.org.
Okay.
And you can see me at Disney World.
What did he say? What did he
He
say?
said you could see him at Disney World.
Oh, I can. Did you guys, you guys went somewhere not too long ago, right? Braxton, Allie?
We went down to Destin
It's that.
because of you guys. You guys had told us about Destin many years ago. And so now we love Destin. We've been there twice now and love it. Braxton loves the water.
No, I like the Star Wars.
Yeah, I know. You like Star Wars too.
Star
Yeah.
Wars.
I like the Star Wars ride because Braxton likes
Falcon.
that where we at the beach. Braxton, me and Braxton, this happened to both of us. When we were at the beach, this big wave came and it knocked
And I
Braxton
was
over on
freaking
a
out.
boat because he has a
Which was
blow
like,
up boat and the boat went on top of his head.
Oh, no.
But
Was
he
that
thinks
scary,
that's
Braxton?
fun. No, he thinks
But
it's
he,
fun.
he loves getting crashed.
The harder the wave gets, the more fun he has.
The Commodore
The boat was like,
I have.
Clog.
Yeah. And then, yeah. So, you fell on, did you guys ride the jet skis down there, Braxton? Jet skis? No jet skis?
I want to go on a jet ski.
You did, Allie?
And I want to.
We can do it next time.
I know. We hope to get down there soon, but we just can't find anything.
Yeah.
All right. So let me, you guys are going to show up on this podcast, and I was thinking about when we first met, and when we first met, one of those times where in your life you go, something just changed.
Right.
Not for you. I'm not going to, whatever becomes of my life, it's not your responsibility. I promise. But
That's a
one of
very
those,
neat story.
what's that?
It's a very neat story.
Well, just if we could just, describe it some, because I want people to know that, it's like when you have a son that says they want to start a business, that's one that kind of, okay, well, or you have a son or daughter that's born and you go, okay, something just shifted in my life. And that's what happened when you guys walked through that door on that Saturday.
Mhm.
It was led by this guy in the front with that big blue-eyed beaming trouncing in and then Allie with her self-confidence with you guys. But I remember when we met, and it's just that anybody that's been around you and your family just pick up on there's something special and unique.
Thanks.
Yeah. And
It was a weird day because we had actually walked in to talk about Taekwondo lessons for Allie. And then Ben was like, hey, why don't you ask him about Brax? And I was like, oh, because that meant I had to go through the whole story and kind of explain everything. So I started explaining it to Master Jen, and she's like, hey, hold that thought for 1 second. She's like, hey, JD, come here for a second. And I guess apparently you had been wanting to get into the special needs community and just didn't really know how. So yeah, after that, we kind of started talking outside and came up with a few parents that we worked it all out. And yeah, I think you did wonderful things for our kids. It was a good place for Braxton to be able to come and hang out with people, which he doesn't typically get to do. And it allowed siblings to work with these, special talents. So it's a neat program, and we are forever thankful because both of my kids really enjoyed it.
Oh, great. We're expanding that out, and we'll talk that on different podcasts, but, or in the email, because now Circle is going to kind of blend with the Soul Minded Business podcast. It's going to be one and the same. The whole point is to find what you're supposed to do or find what grabs your heart and then just go with it. And the resources show up or things happen. And at least that's our story. And we're going to see what happens with that. But we've learned more from your kids than I know we've taught them. Braxton, buddy, we used to love our time together. We're going to get back together somehow, some way. It's just going to show up.
Or we could just do it over the computer.
You could do Zoom. Mm-hmm.
Do Zoom?
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the Zoom and the, this type setting for learning? Are you getting used to it? You like it? You don't like it? How do you feel about it?
I feel happy about it.
You do? You do. Good.
It's kind of become the new normal, isn't it?
It is. It is.
It is. The kids got used to it really with school when they started their e-learning. So yeah, they're both pretty used to it. Allie would still rather be in school any day. So
I don't care if I have to do e-learning again. I just want to get back in school. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, what's that, Allie? What'd she say?
I don't care if I have to do e-learning again. I just have to get back in school because I hate staying in that house and letting her teach me.
Yeah. So where's Gus? Is Gus in there somewhere?
Gus is over here, laying down on the floor.
Yeah, so tell us about Gus. What's the story with Gus?
So what is Gus? He is your
Seizure dog.
Gus is Braxton's seizure dog, and we got him in Indiana from a breeder. They actually breed service animals, service dogs. And then when they're about 6 weeks old, they test them with a trainer. And Gus was one of the smartest ones of his little litter. So his original name was Jasper.
I didn't like that too much.
But they started training him pretty much at birth, and then 6 weeks the trainers took him in. And then we got to meet him very early on, and I think at like 3 months of age. And then he actually came home to us at 10 months.
Because Braxton's allergic to dogs.
Yeah, we have this one.
So Braxton is allergic to the saliva, the protein in the saliva of dogs. So we had spoken with his allergist, and he said their dogs are just like humans. Different dogs have like different proteins. So he said, you could test it out. And the only dog that we have found, the only breed that works with Braxton is Labradoodles. And sure enough, we brought Gus home and everything's been perfectly fine.
Yeah. Was in his car.
Yeah, he's now what, a year and a half? Yeah. And hopefully he'll be going to school with Braxton.
Yeah.
Going to school with Braxton, cool.
He's getting held back so I can see the dog and so he can get more education.
Yes.
Right.
Cool. Awesome. Braxton, is that a new move?
So I can see the dog. Huh?
Is that a new move? That thing you're doing there is a new move?
No. Yes, it's my new move.
He did the laugh. Sit up, please.
Braxton, here we go.
We can talk.
Yeah.
That's you.
Yes.
All right. So have you guys, just a few more questions. Has he had any more trips to the hospital recently? We haven't been on Facebook. How's that going? Okay.
Yeah, we had,
Right at the beginning.
in Christmas is kind of what started. He had a pretty long, prolonged seizure Christmas. And they had to end up putting him on a ventilator. And we ended up staying there quite a few days. But he typically has seizures once a month. Most of them we control at home with like a nasal medication to stop the seizures. Just because with Dravet syndrome, like with his, I guess it's different for every child, but his seizures don't stop on their own. So we do like it's called nasal versed to stop the seizures. Otherwise he could be left with a lot of brain damage. But yeah, he actually had one, a month ago, where we went in just for an overnight.
We expect a big fever out of nowhere right at the beginning of COVID. So we were like, oh my God, he's got COVID. So it was crazy, just crazy fever out of nowhere. So we went in, he got tested, didn't have it. And then we stayed overnight and fever broke, and then he just kind of came home.
Yeah. Oh, good. Because any kind of illness could set off a seizure with him.
Yeah,
right.
So it's crazy. It's fever, illness, even being too excited, too hot, too cold. Running outside for like 20 minutes would definitely put him into a seizure.
One day when he had a seizure from being too excited, and Dad actually found out he had his headset on, and the noise in it very loud.
Yeah, he was watching an exciting movie with his headsets on. He had it turned off real loud, and he kind of just looked over, and he was kind of just sitting there having a seizure. So we don't do headsets anymore.
Oh, okay. Okay, you said something about it's different for each everyone that has it. Do you have to find that out as you go, or did you?
You do, and the doctors don't even have all the answers. We actually when we go into the hospital, we have an emergency plan that tells the doctors exactly what to give him and how to treat him. Just because you can't treat him like a typical epileptic child. But yeah, some kids seize daily, some kids, and they stop on their own. Some kids like Braxton seize once a month, but the seizures are harder to control and they have to be stopped. So it's just, it's hard, it's different. Like I said, there's not a magical prescription cocktail that works for these kids. He's on like 4 different drugs to try and help the seizures. And without those drugs, it would be really bad.
The toughest part about it is that we never know when it's going to happen or why, really. So every time we leave the house, we have medicine that we carry with us everywhere. You've seen that bag that we carry, because if we don't have it, it's no good. Like we won't be able to help them and stop the seizure, and then it's just a mess. So we carry meds around with us everywhere. It's just part of our life, Did you get the meds?
So we'll take some coaching from you.
Not to leave the house without the meds. Like, make sure you have your meds.
It's actually his job now to get the meds, pack them up, and take them.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're trying to hook them to Gus somehow.
So we'll take some. What's that, Ben? What's that?
We're trying to figure out a way to strap them to Gus.
The meds.
Oh, yeah.
Because he goes everywhere we go. So
I know. Yeah.
So we need a bit of advice on this. He had one with us in there one day. And I know you guys will coach us. And we had never been around somebody that had a seizure or seen anyone that had a seizure. What do you do if you're out and about and you see somebody having a seizure and you don't know what to do? What should we have done?
I would immediately turn them on their side. That way any drool because typically they drool a lot, would actually come out of their mouth instead of them choking on it.
They could aspirate by inhaling, some of their saliva, and then get pneumonia from their pocket of saliva in their lungs, that kind of thing. So you want to put them on their sides.
So yeah, that's what we immediately do. We take him, turn him on his side. We have to at that point administer medication and call 911, just because if you have to administer that medication again, it can stop him from breathing. And I mean, if I had to do CPR, I would, but I'd rather not do it on my own child. So I call 911 and they come out, and if we need them, great. If we don't, we send them on their way. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just turning them on their side and calling 911.
Most people that have seizures will stop on their own. It's pretty rare that someone just seizes, like he seized for hours before, which is scary because there can be some serious side effects of that. So, but most people have a seizure. If it's more than 5 minutes, it's a long one. That's a long. Usually, it's like a minute, something like that for normal folks.
You guys were in the lobby. One of you was in the lobby, so we could yell, but we all stood like, okay, what do we do? And,
it's hard because they're not easy to look at, are they? It's a hard thing to see.
Yeah.
And to see them often has to be difficult because we didn't know what to do.
Yeah, what's crazy is he has like 8 different types. So like Ben said, you never know what you're going to get and when you're going to get it. So he has a nurse that goes to school with him because she knows what to look for. Because like one of his seizure types is just sitting there and he may be staring off to the side. And, you wouldn't be able to break it by doing anything. And the thing is, if you didn't stop that, it would progress into like a full-blown tonic-clonic. And what we found is the longer they go on, the harder they are to control. And that's what at times when we're in the hospital, like we were in December, Braxton seized for an hour and a half. And the drugs that we had to try and stop the seizures, they had IVs in him. They were pumping him full of drugs to stop the seizures. They couldn't get it to stop. So they physically had to give him a medication to paralyze him so that they could intubate him to give him enough medications to stop the seizures, because otherwise the medications that they give him could stop him from breathing. So he's trying to show you right now his button. That's what we call it. He has an implant. It's called a VNS, which is a vagus nerve stimulator. You see like a round little. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a round disc.
Yeah, it's like a disc that they use that magnet. So we have a magnet that we swipe it to help.
Oh, you swipe it with a magnet. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, the disc has a wire that attaches to his vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve pretty much controls your whole body.
So this is like.
It's a magnet. You just swipe over.
Okay.
And it sets it off, and it sends a stimulus up that nerve into the center of your brain, and it kind of just sends a pulse up there to knock out whatever's happening, like a reset button almost.
Okay. Yeah.
It's also a superpower button, though. That's how he uses the force so much.
Oh, Braxton.
With the force.
The force.
Yeah.
So he also knows to pat the magnet with his meds.
Yeah, so this vagus nerve stimulator is pretty neat. Sometimes we can swipe him and it'll stop it, but it also throughout the day sends off like a signal every so many seconds. That way, if there's something brewing, it tries to stop it before it even happens, which is really neat.
Yes. Hey, Braxton.
Yeah.
What kind of cool things are happening in the force these days? You got some cool things going on?
Oh my God.
He opens the garage door a lot with the force.
Yeah.
He opens the garage door with the force.
He fixes the bed for and when it's bedtime, I used to the bed, throws off the pillows and the covers.
He does.
He goes like this, and the pillows fly off.
Whoa! How do you learn that, Braxton? How do you learn it? Can you teach me, or can I be taught?
What about when you go into Target or the grocery store and you use the force, and what happens?
The force to open the door. The door opens.
Wow.
How? How do you? I mean, like, did you just one day wake up with it like that?
Yeah.
Allie, do you have the force? Can you do it too? Yes.
That's the problem. Well, what happened? You became a Jedi in.
I'm not a Jedi yet.
I went to Jedi training.
You went to Jedi training.
I went to Jedi training too. Yeah, and then he chose my lightsaber, and it was green. And after that, I got to go to. And then it was like.
Where'd you go through Jedi training?
Darth Vader came out, and it was like amazing.
Who came out? Darth Vader?
Yes.
No way.
He was my father.
He was your father?
Your dad's right here. Your dad's right here.
You have two dads or just one dad? Whoa. He was your father. Were you scared? Were you frightened?
No, I was brave.
Wow. Like, what'd you do? You used to force on him or he, huh?
What did you do when you saw Darth Vader in Disney World and you were in Jedi training? I don't know if we saw him. Yeah, Daddy's still
I
here.
think we have. But I'm not pretty sure if it's so. You know what I love about Star Wars?
Not Dooku.
I love that Stormtroopers
Yeah,
like to
tell JD and Lawson what you did whenever you
So we
saw
we
Darth
saw-
Vader.
We saw Darth Vader and Darth Maul.
Now, Darth Maul's, what's the
Yeah,
difference?
shoot, I remember that. And Chew's actually taller than Dad. And Chew,
I could take him.
the person that's actually acting as Chewie is a teenager. And then we saw Kylo Ren.
Oh, is he the one in the movie with this, like the scar on his face?
He has the black in the. He has the. He has the
Yes, the
helmet.
lightsaber with the red things in the side.
Yeah, he has a. He's from the Force Awakens. So in the new Star Wars that came out not long ago, it's called Revenge of Skywalker. They actually have a new lightsaber now. It's a yellow one. Braxton does not have it, but he wants it.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wait, was it orange? Might have been. It's either orange or yellow. I can't tell.
Orange or yellow?
Do you
Nice.
want to do Chewie again for JD and Lawson?
No,
Do
I can't do it.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Do it.
That's awesome. You can't do it? I know I can't. All
Try.
right. If you start giving lessons on the Force, you need to let us know.
Tell JD, try it.
Try it.
Oh, I can't. I don't even.
Just do it. Just get a sip of
He's looking
water.
at Lawson like Lawson.
Just
You
get a
got
sip of water and then you roar.
I can't. That was good. I can't do it. I don't have any water close.
It
I'm
sounds like it.
Braxton, I'm shy. I'm not as
So first
not
you
as
get-
bold as you are. Huh?
And then you roar.
Okay. I'll practice it. I just broke out in a sweat. my already big forehead with the lights on it just broke into a sweat. So Braxton, if you start giving lessons, let us know.
Okay, that's enough stuff.
I need it.
Give that back to Allie. Thank you.
Right. So Braxton and Allie, so they're going to be like, we've got a fair amount of people watching this now on the podcast. The numbers are growing.
That's
So you might-
exciting.
Yes, you might hear, there might be, who knows, thousands of people listening. Or already thousands of people listening. So what would you, Braxton, so everyone's watching, and Allie, what would you guys say if you had an audience of about 1,000 sitting here watching you? What would you say?
I would say if we were at Disney World, if we were at Disney World, we might play the Millennium Falcon. We actually did play
Braxton, why don't you turn your joke?
Hey, you know, what a great statement.
That's made this. What's this? This one is hilarious. You're never gonna win it.
Okay, tell me who.
Knock.
Who's there?
P.
Petey? Who?
No, just P.
Oh, P. Who?
P.
I still didn't. That's good, Braxton.
Your turn. Oh wait, knock. Who's there? Ash. Ash who? Bless you. That's one of the oldest jokes. You still laugh when Dad tells you that all the time.
Wait a minute. Here we go.
Knock.
No, wait a minute. Where was it?
Yeah.
Stop
I should have hit the button earlier.
Knock.
Who's there?
But.
Buck who?
No.
What? Anything else you guys want to add? This has been great.
Okay,
Anything
let
else?
me talk to JD
No,
really
I'm
quick.
not
Talk to him as soon as I
done.
get done.
I'm not done. Who?
All right, stop.
Boo. Who? Boo hoo. Boo.
Okay, so JD, the one thing that I would say, if there was a lot of people listening and maybe they had a child that had seizures within the first year of life, and they're basically just not getting any answers, I would say to them to ask their pediatric neurologist to maybe do an SCN1 test, SCN1A test, SCN1A test with Dravet syndrome. In the very beginning, I don't want people to struggle the way that we do, and that's why I try and tell our story. In the beginning, we saw 5 different neurologists before we finally found one that said, I think I know what this is. Let's do a DNA test. It'll take about 6 weeks to come back, and then we'll know. At that point, our test came back, and it was positive for SCN1A. So there's a lot of people that I meet who, this happened actually in Fort Mill. We were at a high school play, and there was a mom sitting there with an epilepsy shirt on. And this is a quick story, but it's so powerful. I told Ben, tap on that lady. I want to tell her that I like her shirt, like tap on her shoulder. He was like, no. And I was like, yes. It happened to be like Epilepsy Awareness Day, and she was wearing an Epilepsy Awareness t-shirt. And so he finally did, and she turned around and I said, look, I like your shirt. My son has Dravet syndrome. And she goes, oh, I've heard of it. And I was like, you have? We started talking because it's so rare. I was very shocked that someone had heard of it. Her daughter was 17 or 16 at the time. And she kept explaining to me what her daughter went through the first year of her life and what she had been through since. And I looked at her and I said, here's my card. Reach out to me anytime you have any questions. However, I would love for you to go and get your daughter tested for SCN1A. And she said, do you think she has Dravet? And I said, if I'm wrong, I'll give you my checkbook. And Ben quickly said, no, you won't. But, no, you won't. She called me 6 weeks later. Her name showed up on my phone. I had not heard from her. And I thought, oh my goodness, something's wrong. So I immediately called her back because I was in the shower when she actually called. And she said, I was just calling to let you know that you can keep your checkbook. She tested positive for Dravet.
Oh.
And the thing is, the doctors just, they hadn't tested her. In her whole 16 years, they had never tested her. And her mom asked me, she said, why is it important I test her now? I've gone this long. Why does it matter? And I said, because of drug trials. There are certain drugs that are available for kids with Dravet that may not be for a typical child with epilepsy. And with the Dravet Syndrome Foundation, I know about the upcoming research, the things that are going on. So I know that there was a possibility down the road that her daughter could have been allowed to participate in one of those. So my thing is that I tell people if there are seizures within the first year of life and they're hard to control, that is a really big sign for Dravet syndrome, to ask your daughter or ask your doctor to test you for the SCN1A gene.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And I know I asked you this earlier, and we're going to have everything transcribed. So it's going to be on the website, so they'll have the information. If there's any questions, they can get in touch with you. If you'll just say
Absolutely.
that again.
Yeah, definitely. My website or my email address is Misty, MISTY, at Dravet, DRAVET Foundation.org.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. What's
and I'm
that?
happy to help if anyone needs resources, doctors, just questions about seizures in general. It's something that you never want to watch your child go through. It's not easy. And you definitely don't want to do it alone. No, thanks for having us, JD. Oh, Gus is trying to say bye too.
Bye, Gus. See you, Allie. See you guys. That concludes another episode of the Soul Minded Business Podcast. As always, reach out to us on our website, soulmindedbusiness.com, or hit me up directly with email at jd@soulmindedbusiness.com. And with this, we hope you have a great week. Peace.